you figured out how to the skill of making money.
Yeah.
You figured it out early.
Yeah.
I know that your parents had a lot to do with that.
Absolutely.
Right. So, but it hadn't been all smooth sailing.
No.
Okay. So there was some bumps in the road, especially early, right, that you guys overcame, which is so inspiring because it just goes to show you, man, you get knocked down, you get up.
Yep.
Tell the folks a little bit about the early days. I'm talking even before. I remember when you guys first got into 100 Oaks with the gym and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have wonderful parents, but we weren't raised, I wasn't raised wealthy at all. And, there was a lot of struggle. My dad had an accident when I was 4. And, lost everything, lost the house. And they really had to fight back. It took them about 10 years to do that. So I can remember, Christmases and you couldn't buy nice tennis shoes. And those little things, but at the same time, I look back and it was, it did have an effect on me as a child in wanting to, drive to make it for myself and never have those struggles. That was the main thing that my parents might argue about was finances back then. I remember that. And so I think that was impactful. But, I got in trouble when I was 20. I got arrested on a drug charge. And that was August 2021, I believe. And my attorney told me you could let this affect the rest of your life and go down a bad path, or you can change it to a good path. It's like, it's going to be up to you. So while I was waiting, the case, and I was facing 15 years in prison.
Okay.
And then my parents mortgaged their house to pay a fine to take it from the federal level to the state level. And we made our deal 8 years, and I would have to go in front of the judge, and he would sentence me to either no time or up to 8 years. So, anywhere in between. And so we went to the sentencing hearing, but the month before I went and signed a lease on my gym and worked out a deal to start Gameness. And so actually the original owner was moving to Germany. And so I had this lease, and we go in the sentencing hearing. I was like, no matter what I'm going to do or what happens, I'm appealing this, because that'll buy me more time. So I'm going to appeal to the appellate court and appeal to the Supreme Court, which would buy me a couple years to start my businesses and have something when I got out. And so we went in there, and it was like something you see on TV. My parents were testifying, and it was very emotional. Everybody, I think, in the room was touched by the whole thing. And the prosecutor was, when I got on the stand, was attacking. But I said, look, I'm not going to sugarcoat. This is all on me. The victims here are my parents. Right. Who are they raised a good kid. I knew better than this, and I made this giant mistake. And so I'm not putting this on anybody else. This is me. And so during the recess, the prosecutor came to us and offered me 3 years. So from 8 years to 3 years, but I had to serve right away. And I turned that down. And knowing that I had to go back in and the judge could give me 8 years. But I'm like, I got to start my business next month. I already signed this lease. And so biggest risk I've ever taken in my life, looking back. Yeah. And so we went in there, and he gave me 8 months to serve. With 8 years probation, which I could appeal that. So when I appeal, he's like, the judge was shocked. He's like, I just gave you a great deal. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that was a fair deal, but he didn't understand what was behind that. So, in that time, I appealed the appellate court and the Supreme Court, but that gave me time to start building both of those businesses, and which I did. So by the time I went in, I was able to have everything going. And when I got out, had something to go out to that was positive. And, the rest with that was history. Our gym was, at one point, probably the largest mixed martial arts gym in the country. It was the largest mixed martial arts gym in the country.
It was massive.
Gameness, we were the largest supplier of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu martial arts uniforms in the world. And got to build those up and learn a lot, make a lot of mistakes. Oh, yeah. And really grow from those. And, now, 25 years into being an entrepreneur, I can say, okay, well, my 20s, I made all these mistakes. I'm glad, though, because, it's taught me this now. And, all the obstacles to me are really blessings. God has always blessed me in the end. Come on. And it's been impactful knowing that now my faith is stronger than ever. I probably pray 15 times a day. God, what should I do here? God, what should I do here? Because a lot of this stuff we just don't know. We act like we know. That's right. And that's really kind of molded. That's how I make decisions now.
But dude, so one of the things that every time that my wife and I achieve unlock another level of in the journey of success or anything else, it always comes back that the folks that are the most successful, they just they run towards the biggest problems. Yeah. Everybody else spends their time avoiding problems, and literally you're staring. I mean, all right, dude. So I'm gonna tell something I've never said before. Okay, so when I was I got a speeding ticket years ago. And court was due. My traffic court was when I was in the hospital and I had my appendix out. All right, so obviously I get out, and I've never said this in public before. So I went to Hillsborough High School here in Nashville, and when I was a freshman, the senior catcher was a guy named Pooh. And I heard a knock on my door at 7 a.m. one morning, not long after I had got out of the hospital. And it was Pooh, and he was a police officer, and he was at my front door. And I was like, "What's up, man?" He goes, "Dude, I heard your name come over the radio. I got to take you in." And I was like, "For what?" So they took me in, booked me. It's all been expunged and everything, but this was over missing traffic court. It was funny because everybody was like, what'd you do to make this judge mad or whatever? I was like, I don't know. Like, I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is I spent 12 hours, not free. It was the scariest 12 hours ever.
Yep.
All right. And I was like, I can never do that again. So you're literally staring 8 years in the face, right? So you just ran right at those problems.
Yeah, it was,
What were your parents saying during that
time? It was so brutal, man, for them. I felt, it was really hard on them because their son, who had done a lot of good things, made a giant mistake. And I was guilty of everything, no excuses. It was all on me. And, that was the hardest part was, their disappointment and then seeing them go through their pain because of what I did. Mm-hmm. And so, but they were supportive, very supportive. My dad took my dad was, I say hard on me, but he was pretty hard on me in a positive ways, but he took actually a very soft approach, which was what I needed at the time because I felt so bad about everything that happened. And, but they were, they were awesome as always, All
right, folks, again, check this out. So starting a business it's not hard, but people make it hard. Mm-hmm. Okay. Starting a business in healthcare is extremely hard, and starting a business in another country is extremely hard. And you knocked out 2 of them, right, in a row. So again, I want you to literally those folks that are fighting for all the reasons they can't be successful in starting whatever it is they want to do. God only made one of you, right? And Ed's a perfect example of that. You are most powerfully equipped and you're most powerfully positioned and uniquely qualified to serve the person that you used to be.
Yep.
Right. So again, all this started because of something with your mom, right?
That's right.
So, and now look where it's taking you today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the thing is, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you got to have a belief in yourself, mm-hmm. and you can't listen to the naysayers. They'll try to give you all the reasons why you can't do something, but you just got to block it out. And a lot of them are well intended; they want the best for you. Most people do, at least.
They're protecting you.
Yeah, they're just protecting you. Mm-hmm. And but this sounds simple, but most people fail because they quit too soon. Mm. Yeah, they just quit too soon. Like, if you would have just, there's so many times where we could have quit, Nick.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And we just didn't. Just fight. You got to fight. And you got to, especially if you're going for something big, like you can't hold yourself short and you got to give it the best possible chance to succeed. And that doesn't mean sometimes people will fail. I mean, we've had a lot of failures in between.
Well, that was where I was going with that. Because like you mentioned just a couple of them. I mean, COVID, for goodness sakes. A whole bunch of bumps in the road you didn't expect. But like, again, you're running right towards those failures, eyes and heart wide open. But like you said the magic word to me, which was like, you can't quit, you finish.
Yes.
A finisher and a quitter look a lot alike. You know what I'm saying? They look a lot alike. I didn't quit my baseball career, I finished. That's why I'm happy with where I left it. Yeah. Was it where I wanted to get to? No, but that's as far as I got, and I was finished.
Yep.
Right. So that's probably like one of the most powerful things you've said today for me, for those young entrepreneurs especially. It was like, dude, like, and I don't think you'll ever be criticized by somebody doing more than you either.
Yeah. No, that's true. And you made me think about a time where we almost, were having to finish. Although I'm not sure I would have thought it was finished. During COVID, this is probably January 2021.
Okay.
People were more afraid of COVID than they were of their metastatic cancer that was for sure to kill them. And so, I mean, it was just so tough. And, we were starting the stem cell thing. We had an offer at the time for $14.9 million, a buyout. And we didn't really want to do it, but we were out of money. And so, we said, okay, well, if we don't hit this mark in 2 weeks, we gotta, we just don't have, we're going to make a drastic change. We either sell it or, sell a portion. And so Scotty and Dedrick and I were like at our house. We all give each other a hug and just go in and charge for the next 2 weeks. And within that 2 weeks, we were able to turn it around. But that was a time where, there's been many times like that. That was the closest to where, like, okay, we were looking for another option because it might not work. That was the only time that's happened. But it was close, and we said our prayers, and God's figured all this out, man.
Yeah.
I mean, really, every obstacle that we faced, I look now as really a blessing. He throws these things at us at the time. We're like, God, why are you putting this in front of us? What's going on here?
Yeah.
And I can look back at all of them and I realize why it was put in front of us. It's like, you taught me this lesson, you taught me that lesson, you brought me closer to you. Yeah. And that's, and now what we do, it's a lot bigger now. So there's a lot of stress that goes with it. Yeah. But I wouldn't be able to operate if I didn't have faith. If I didn't have, God to lean on. And so I realized that all the struggles have got me to a point where that's what I lean on.
That's right. Yeah. It was the day that my wife and I got married. I tell this story a lot. The pastor that married us, how they turn you around and he's behind you. Then you walk out the center aisle. So somehow he beat us to the outside, and he was just like, he gave us a hug, said congratulations. And he said, the most important thing that I'm going to tell you is right now. And I was like, more important than what just happened in there? And he said, yeah, man. Like, so again, you guys, because it was a shotgun thing. We had joined the church is what we had done. We had joined a church, and I was just like, I hadn't married her yet. And that was my chance to do it. So we did it right there, shotgun style. My son watched.
Oh, wow.
But he said, we got out there and he said, dude, like, there's two sides of this story. And the bad side, the evil side, is not happy with the decision you just made, and it's going to do everything it can to detour your focus and draw you back, right? So they call them growing pains for a reason, right? So doesn't all growth hurt?
Yep.
Isn't it all painful?
Yeah.
Like, think about it as an athlete. You train, you inflict pain so that you can go out and have the results that you want later, right?
That's
so
right. Yes.
Why don't we associate that with business and life, do you think?
I don't know. I think that people should. I definitely do. You hit the nail on the head, man. I mean, I heard Nito Quabin say, the only person that welcomes change is a baby in wet diapers.
That's right.
And the only time meaningful change occurs is when the pain of remaining the same is greater than the pain of changing. And you think about that. I mean, when meaningful change occurs, it's just so painful living this way and dealing with this. And this is people that could be out there listening. They might have obstacles, but until you're really ready to change, that's when the meaningful change occurs. And I think people are afraid of change. People are afraid of pivoting because it looks a certain way. Yeah. And we can't really care how things look. Things. If people were on the inside seeing all the stuff that's happened with our company, they'd be like, it looks smooth on top, but I was a duck underwater, just pedaling away, trying to. And but that's okay. And I think people get concerned with how things look. When ultimately what matters is their result in the end.
Come on.
And I definitely agree with you.
Growth happens in uncomfortable places, right? So I don't think you can grow. If you've got a fixed mindset when it comes to information, you can't grow, and all you're feeding yourself is the exact same stuff from the exact same people over and over and over again. And like the more financially blessed that my family has become, the more information we've had access to, and that information is, it's a game changer. Access is incredible if you have the right kind, and you have enough of it, right? So, you've been in. The biggest podcaster on planet Earth is saying your name over and over again on his platform. You've partnered with, I guess, is UFC? They're definitely top 5 in pro sports as far as size and stuff like that by now, right? So they're up there.
They're up there, yeah.
And you guys are front and center and all that stuff. It's just absolutely incredible.
It's wild, man. I do look at it like pinch myself. Like, relationships. Is this real sometimes? It's all about relationships. Yeah. It really is. And how do you build good relationships? If people trust you and you're, a man of your word, person of your word, and they know that, you're going to do what you say you're going to do, you build those relationships, become, be a good friend. Yeah. That spreads a lot. Like Scotty is one of my business partners. Scotty has more friends than anybody I know. And he went to like 15 different schools in high school, and had to meet a lot. I had to learn how how to make friends. And in the MMA industry, he owned a company called OTM, On the Mat. It was just one of the first mixed martial arts jiu-jitsu blogs. He lived in Brazil for like 3 years. And, I've watched him. I met him when I was 15 years old. He's about 10 years older than me. We became good friends. And I've watched him just build relationships. And he would just sponsor. Like, he didn't have a lot of money. Just 20 years ago, he had OTM, but he would just give away so much stuff, sponsor so many people. Oh, you need shorts. Oh, you need shirts. And, just taking care of people. And, now, our relationships are so strong because I learned from him then to do the same thing with my clothing line. Just give people, the stuff that they need and support them, because eventually it'll come back around to you.
Right.
And I think people underestimate the power of those relationships. And I mean, we have people, the support that we have from our friends over the years, it's why we're successful.
Yeah.
That's really, I mean, we worked really hard too, but if we didn't have our friends supporting us in the very beginning, we wouldn't have made it like this. I mean, if Rogan wouldn't have started talking about us on a regular basis, that was talk about a rocket ship after that. But how did that happen? Eddie Bravo is one of my best friends. He went on Joe's show. We legit, and Eddie wasn't going to talk about it unless it actually worked. He didn't want to do any type of misleading stuff. His shoulder got better. He went on Rogan, and 2 minutes in, they talked about it for like 17 minutes.
Wow.
And that's relationships, though.
Oh, yeah.
And we really helped him.
Oh, yeah.
But, people throw it. And I look back at my 20s, because back when I owned the MMA gym, I was kind of like cutthroat in a way where if people screwed me over or something, I was like, never, I'm just move on.
That's fact. I do know that about you, for sure.
And, I look back and I don't operate like that anymore. I haven't in a long time.
Yeah.
But you learn from those mistakes, because you don't want to hurt relationships.
Yeah.
You want more relationships. You want to, and so that's learning as an entrepreneur. I was very hardcore business before, and now it's like all win-win. Like, how can we create a win-win? I don't want to take
opposite. I was too nice.
I see.
And I was almost a pushover to a certain degree. But you got to be right in the middle.
There's balance.
That's right.
You don't want to get taken advantage of, but you also don't want to close a door too soon. You got to give people grace. That's a big one.
That's right.
We all make mistakes. Man. And so I regret, you're talking about, I won't mention the name here, but friend from before, I closed that door on him too soon. I can look back and say that. And I do regret that. I would love to, mention that to him one day.
It was talent for sure.
Yeah.
And burning those bridges, like, again, there's, I don't know anybody that actually wins when you burn one, when you burn it down. You know what I mean? Like, because you never know what can come back to you.